Let's see here. Social stream. Let's get this going. YouTube. Alright, and then let's go here. Alright. Here. Okay. Here. Pop out. Copy that. Go here. Oh. Go here. Select. Okay. Oh, my back. My back. Okay. Activate. Okay. Select. Refresh. Boom. Turn on. Nice. And boom. Yo! We're back in business here, boys. Welcome back to the stream. Welcome back to the stream. I hope you're having a wonderful day today. It's good to have you guys back here. Welcome back to my study session. Today is July the 3rd. Wow, time be flying. July the 3rd, 2025. And we are here teaching ourselves some more Python. What do you know? Gaming? Yo, 2Cast, what's going on, my guy? Alright, how it be, everybody? How it be? Let's get the TTS on. Keep it clean, keep it safe. Let's get the TTS on.
Tim says, hey, Professor.
Yo! Yo, Tim! Nice! Yeah, we posted, if you guys haven't seen yet, we did post a video to the channel today. I recorded like three of the Python Crash Course Try It Yourself problems demo walkthroughs. So I'm going to be uploading them back to back daily uploads for the next for the next like week or so. I'm going to try to keep the streak going here. So yeah, pretty nice. We got 410. This one was about some slicing, so pretty cool there. And then we got some more coming tomorrow. So 411, 412, and up to 413. I got up to 413 today. I recorded and edited and got ready to go. So I'll record 5, 1, 2, and 3 tomorrow. So we'll have 6 ready to go. And then I also have ready to upload the part 1 of week 8 of Harvard CS50X. We have that on backlog. We gotta upload, boys. We're a little behind. Welcome into the stream. I hope you guys are having a good day. If you guys are in the United States, tomorrow is July the 4th, which is the Independence Day of the United States. So if you're celebrating the Independence Day, or if you're not, if you're in a different country or whatnot, then that's what we got. Hear some fireworks in the background. People go pretty crazy, especially in this area where I'm at. It's kind of like a rolling thunder along the horizon all night long. So anyways, I'm glad you guys are here. It's a good day to get going here. Let's get some Fluent Python out. And let's get our Fluent Python notes here.
Happy Hamburger Day.
Hey, yeah, nobody blowing their fingers off, hopefully. Lots of horror stories, firework horror stories. People blowing themselves up. You know, it's just crazy. Alright, let's go down here. We're on like page 130. Aurora's here. How's it going, dude? Appreciate you for coming in, my guy. Welcome back into the stream. Alright, we were right here last time. Okay. Bomb, a useful gremlin. So we are back reading. Oh, dude. Let me be real with y'all, guys. My parents, they're good people, but they cannot cook. I had white people food growing up, you know. Dry turkey on Thanksgiving, no salt, no pepper, just mashed potatoes and like gray and brown stuffing. Oh, my bad. My bad. I was recording the videos. All right. Here we go. Hey, we crossed over 2,500 subs too, by the way. So big ups to you guys. Thank you guys so much for the love.
Tim says bro only ate Lunchables.
Yeah, for real. Okay, let's get right in here into Fluent Python chapter 4. Yes. Okay, bomb, a useful gremlin. Whatever bomb is. Alright, hopefully I got the burps today. In example 4, you may have noticed a couple of extra bytes at the beginning of a UTF-16 encoded sequence. Here they are again, where we're going to encode the string El Nino into UTF-16 encoding, which gives us B, quote, yada, 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 all these bytes. The bytes are B, quote, backslash X, FF, backslash X, FE. That is a BOM byte order mark denoting, okay, so a BOM, or a byte order mark, right, denoting the little endian byte ordering of the Intel CPU where the encoding was performed. On a little endian machine, for each code point, the least significant byte comes first. The letter big E, code point U plus 0045, decimal 69, is encoded in byte offset 2 and 3 as 69 and 0. Okay, this thing is getting nuts here. What's going on here? Yo, what's going on, Rashab? Okay, I'm going to take this. To avoid on a big endian CPU, the encoding would be reversed. Big E would be encoded as 0 and 69. To avoid confusion, the UTF-16 encoding prepends the text to be encoded with the special invisible character 0 with no break space U plus FEFF. On a little endian system, that is encoded as by B backslash XFF backslash XFE. What does this mean? Because by design there is no U plus FFFE character in Unicode, the byte sequence of backslash XFF backslash XFE must mean the 0 with non-break space on a little endian encoding, so the codec knows which byte ordering to use. There is a variant of the UTF-16 UTF-16LE that is explicitly little endian, and another one explicitly big endian, UTF-16BE. If you use them, a BOM is not generated. If present, the BOM is supposed to be filtered by the UTF-16 codec so that you only get the actual text contents of the file without the leading 0 with no break space. What is this? This guy's just throwing crap out of nowhere. This guy does a pretty piss poor job about kind of leading you up to understand what he's going to talk about and introduce. He's just throwing all this at you out of nowhere. He never even defined big endian or little endian in the book before this. I don't know. Give me back to Fluent Python. What was his name? Matthew? Eric Maths. That's right. That's a good author right there. If present, the bomb is supposed to be filtered. Okay. This whole issue of endianness only affects encodings that use words of more than one byte, like UTF-16 and UTF-32. One big advantage of UTF-8 is that it produces the same byte sequence regardless of machine endianness, so no BOM is needed. Nevertheless, some Windows applications, notably Notepad, add the BOM to UTF-8 files anyway, and Excel depends on the BOM to detect a UTF-8 file. Otherwise, it assumes the content is encoded with a Windows code page. This UTF-8 encoding with BOM is called UTF-8 SIG in Python codex registry. The character U plus FEFF encoded into UTF-8 SIG is a 3-byte sequence of this. So if a file starts with those 3 bytes, it's likely to be a UTF-8 file with a BOM. Okay, so what is this? I am reading Fluent Python, and I do not get this page at all. Can you please break it down and explain it? You're reading about Unicode encodings, and this section specifically explains how UTF-16 works on different computers and what a byte order mark is. First off, what is a byte order mark? A byte order mark is a special marker placed at the beginning of a text file that tells the computer how to read multi-byte characters. Okay, here we go. So this is what it should have been explaining to us at the beginning. A special marker placed at the beginning of a text file that tells a computer how to read multi-byte characters. It's like a label saying, hey, I'm UTF-16. Here's the byte order I'm using. What's byte order or endianness? Byte order, right? Little endian. The least important byte, smallest part comes first. Least important byte comes first. And big, the most important byte, or biggest, not buggest. Okay, example. The character big E has a Unicode point of U plus 0045, which is 69 in its decimal form. A little endian is stored as 69.0, and big endian is stored as 069. The first two numbers, 255 and 254, are the BOM. It tells Python this text file is UTF-16 encoded using little endian order. The rest is encoded in the form of El Nino. Because UTF-16 and UTF-32 use multiple bytes to store one character, the order matters. If two computers have different byte order, okay, so I'll say, I like this. Choosing. So for E69, where did the 0 come in? Unicode point is 0045. The hexadecimal is 69. In UTF-16, each character is encoded using 2 bytes, 16-bit, regardless of how small the code point is. So okay, so it's just basically saying 0 is like there's nothing there. Okay. And the little ending would be the low byte first. Okay. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so then I'd say like go like this. Example. Right, we have quote E has a Unicode point Unicode of U plus 0045. Its hex is 0045. And its UTF-16 is 0045. In this would be little endian and big endian, most significant byte first. UTF-16. Big endian. 4500. Okay. That was a lot better. Okay, handling text files. The best practice for handling text I/O is the Unicode sandwich. This means that bytes should be encoded to stir as early as possible on input. Sorry. The best practice for handling text I/O is the Unicode sandwich. Okay. The Unicode This means that bytes should be decoded to stir as early as possible on input when opening a file for reading. The filling on the sandwich is the business logic of your program. Where text handling is done exclusively on stir objects, you should never be encoding or decoding in the middle of other processing. On output, the stir are encoded to bytes as late as possible. Okay, so the bread is the encoding, decoding, and then the bits is the processing on stirs. Okay, so a metaphor, I think, right, is a metaphor, English majors, a metaphor for converting text bytes should be decoded as early as possible. Right, this is the top bread. To stir, right? Top piece of bread. Okay. Operations are performed on text only, and then finalized text is encoded on output. Bottom piece. Yeah, what's going on, Leo? Sandwich filling, the Unicode sandwich. In Django, for example, your view should be output Unicode stir. The Django itself takes code of encoding the response to bytes using UTF-8 by default. Python 3 makes it easier to follow the device of the Unicode sandwich because open built-in does the necessary decoding when reading and encoding and when writing files in text mode. So all you get from file.read and pass file.write text are stir objects. Therefore, when using text files, it's apparently simple, but if you rely on different default encodings, you will get bitten. This is the Unicode sandwich, so let's take this pic. There we go. Doing good, Leo Bricks. Appreciate you, my guy, for stopping in. Hey, Douglas, thanks for jumping in on Twitch, y'all. How you guys doing tonight? Good for you for studying on, if you guys are Americans, on the holiday evening. Okay. Consider the console session example 4.8. Can you spot the bug? 4.8, a platform encoding issue. If you try this on your machine, you may not see the problem. So we're going to open cafe.txt in write mode, and we're going to encoding is UTF-8. And we're going to .write cafe onto that. Okay. So if we read the contents of cafe, we're missing the E, right? Well, let's go back up to what we were talking about earlier. Does UTF-8 provide the necessary encoding for the E with the tilde up top, right? Do we need like a Latin 1 encoding or a CP1252? Okay, yeah, I think that's it. The bug, I specified UTF-8 encoding when writing the file, but failed to do so when reading it. Okay, got you. So, that would be it. So UTF-8 does properly do it, but when you read it, you fail to do so. And so Python assumed Windows default encoding of CP or code page 1252. And trailing bytes in the file were encoded as characters of this instead of the proper E. I ran example 4.8 on Python 3.81 on 64-bit on Windows 10. The same statement running on the recent Linux or Mac OS works perfectly well because the default encoding is UTF-8, giving the false impression that everything is fine. If encoding argument was omitted when opening the file to write, the local default encoding would be used, and we'd read the file correctly using the same encoding. But then this script would generate files with different byte contents depending on the platform, or even depending on local settings in the same platform, creating compatibility problems. Cool, we got that one right. Code that has to run on multiple machines or multiple occasions should never depend on encoding defaults. Always pass an explicit encoding argument when opening text files because the default may change from one machine to the next, or from one day to the next. Okay. Curious detail, example 4.8, is the write function. In the first statement, reports A curious detail in example 4-8 is that the write function in the first statement reports the 4 characters were written, but in the next line, 5 characters were read. Remember, I think UTF-8, remember UTF-8 is a 2, no, UTF-16, no, UTF-8 might be a 2 byte, and I think it represents those objects, that is 2 bytes. Example 4.9 is the extended version of 4.8 explaining that and other details. Example 4.9, closer inspection of example 4.8 running on Windows revealing the bug. So we're going to open the file pointer, right? Which is just the file pointer here. We're going to write cafe, and we're going to close it. We import OS. We say OS, and we say the size of this, and it's 5. Right? There's 5 bytes in this. Okay, so number 1. By default, open uses text mode and returns a text IO wrapper object with a specific encoding. The write method on the text IO wrapper returns the number of Unicode characters written. So it wrote 4 characters. os.stat says that the file has 5 bytes. UTF-8 encodes E as a 2 bytes. Opening a text file with no explicit encoding returns a text wrapper with the encoding set to default from the locale. CP1252, and we read, that's why we get this. Opening it, so and then looks like he's going to read in byte mode here. In the Windows code point encoding, the byte 0xC3 is an A with a tilde, and 0xA9 is a copyright sign. Opening the same file with the correct encoding in the result. The file reading in binary mode. The returned object is a read buffer reader and not a text IO wrapper. Reading that byte returns bytes as expected. Do not open text files in binary mode unless you need to analyze the file contents to determine the encoding. Even then, you should be using Chardet instead of reinventing the wheel. See how discovering and encoding the byte sequence on page 128. Ordinary code should use a binary mode to open binary files like raster images. The problem in example 4.9 has to do with relying on default setting while opening a text file. There are several sources for such defaults, as the next section shows. Just learning already on your first project. No, we've already built quite a few projects. We've been teaching ourselves for a year here. You can go to michaeldeming.com here. michaeldeming.com. You can see all my projects here. Got quite a few here so far, from websites to standard iOS to desktop apps to all kinds of stuff so far. Pretty cool. Hey Max, how's it going, dude? Thanks for stopping in, my guy. Just for fun. I have a degree in human biology. All right, let's keep going. Okay, let's keep on rolling here. Beware of encoding defaults. Just reading, I want to learn more about Python. I want to develop a mastery in it, in its ins and outs. I want to know all about it. Okay. Beware of encoding defaults. Several settings affect the encoding defaults for I/O in Python. See the default encoding.py script in example 410. Example 410, exploring encoding defaults. Import locale and import sys. So expressions are these strings. So my file equals open dummy file in write mode. For expression in expressions.split,
Inami Spy says, I feel like LeetCode helps with that. Just need niche solutions, but I guess we can't go wrong with the manual. One more advanced thing you can do is learn some low-level things like assembly or C and then understand how Python makes your life easier.
I mean, we've already solved like 85 lead code problems, so we're doing pretty good on that front too. But kind of over the lead code. It's kind of I don't know. We recently didn't do too hot in a job interview because we were grinding lead code when we should have been grinding, Python scripting and some other things to help our case. So expressions.split here. So we split and then we say value, we eval the expression, and then print if the expression is greater than 30. Value. Okay, so what is this exactly doing? The output example 410 on a GNU Linux and Mac OS is identical, showing that UTF-8 is used everywhere in these systems. So locale.getPreferred encoding system. Get preferred encoding is UTF-8 is returned. Oh, so this is the expression that was used, and then we just error. Okay, so it's just this string is returned. Okay, and then the value here itself. The raw value. Okay, get preferred encoding, UTF-8, IO wrapper, type my file, encoding. Okay, on Windows, however, the file outputs are this. CP1252, UTF-8 sometimes. Got you. CHCP shows the active code page for the console 437. Active code page here, number 1. Running default encodings.py with output to console is 2 here. Locale.getPreferred encoding is the most important setting here. Text files use local getPreferred encoding by default. The output is going to the console, so sys.standardout.is, whatever this guy here is addy, is true. Now sys.standardout.encoding is not the same as the console code report page, CHP. Sys.encoding. It's not the same as CH. Unicode support in Windows itself and in Python for Windows got better since I wrote the first edition of this book. Example 411 used to report 4 different encodings in Python 3.4 on Windows 7. The encodings for standard out, standard in, and standard error used to be the same as the active code page reported by the chcp command. But now they're all UTF-8 thanks to the PEP 528 change Windows console encoding to UTF-8 implemented in Python 3.6. And Unicode support in PowerShell and cmd.exe since Windows 1809 from October 2018. It's weird that chcp and sys.standardout.encoding say different things when standardout is writing to the console, but it's great that now we can print Unicode strings without encoding errors on Windows, unless the user redirects output to a file, as we'll soon see. That does not mean all of your favorite emojis will appear in the console. That also depends on the font that the console is using. Another change was PEP 529 changed Windows file system encoding to UTF-8, also implemented in Python 3.6, which changed the file system encoding used to represent names of directories and files from Microsoft proprietary MBCS to UTF-8. However, if the output of the example 410 is redirected to a file like this, okay, if you just redirect the Python output to a encodings.log file, then the value of the sys.standardout.isAdded becomes false, and sys.standardout.encoding is set by locale.getPreferredEncoding CAP 1252 in that machine, because we're no longer outputting to the console or writing to file. But sys.standard encoding and sys.standard error encoding remain UTF-8. Okay, so what I'm going to do, let's go do something similar. Okay, so let's take this and say, I'm going to take this and say, this section is pretty dense, and I use Mac, so I am not too familiar with the Windows jargon. Could you break this down for me? This section can feel overwhelming, especially if you're not familiar with encoding behaves differently across operating systems. It's about how Python decides which character encoding to use when, reading and writing files, printing to the terminal, reading user output, interacting with files in the system. So what is encoding again? Remember, encoding is how text is turned into bytes. For example, lowercase e is turned into this in UTF-8. Different encodings represent the same character in different byte sequences. What the code in default encodings.py does. It checks what encoding is being used by Python in different contexts. Right, we know that. Files, myfile.encoding standard output input error, like your terminal system defaults. On Mac OS and Linux, the answer is almost always UTF-8. So everything just works when handling Unicode. On Windows, things are more complicated. Why Windows is different. Historically, Windows used code pages like CP1252 or CP437 instead of Unicode-based encodings. CHCP, change code page, shows the code page your console is using. For example, CHCP437 means your console is using an old encoding from the DOS days. But now things are better thanks to PEPs, Python Enhancement Proposal. PEP 528 changed Windows terminal encoding to UTF-8. So now you can print Unicode text like emojis in the Windows console without errors. PEP 529, so these are just like updates or enhancements to Python, I'm guessing, changed the file system encoding to UTF-8. Now the file paths with non-ASCII characters like cafe with the tilde.txt work correctly. So in Python 3.6 on up-to-date Windows, sys.standardout encoding is now UTF-8. Your files and terminal output are more Unicode friendly, redirecting output to a file. Even on Windows 10, if you do this, right, the sys.standardout.isAdded, whatever this isAdded represents, becomes false. It's no longer connected to a terminal but to a file. Sys.standardout encoding falls back to the default encoding like CP1252. If your program prints Unicode like emojis and accented characters, you redirect that output to a file, it might break or get mangled unless you're careful. So you need to specify, and all in all, just specify in the open, right, and when you write the encodings and when you read and stuff, so you can specify for all the characters to encode. Okay, I got you. File I/O parsing, a lot of the stuff I've currently the problem that I got in the interview wasn't hard in the terms of like I definitely could have solved it. I just honestly ran out of time, and I was having a little bit of difficulty just kind of understanding the actual problem itself with what they were actually asking me to like output at the end. And because it had a lot of different steps it wanted me to, so I guess I didn't do a very good job of breaking all of these steps down into their different components, which is my bad. But you know, I feel like the time constraints were a little bit rough. I definitely think I could have solved it though if I a the pressure and b had a little bit more time. Okay, who's scratching over there? Who's scratching over there? Okay, this means that a script like example 412 works when printing to the console, but may break when the output is redirected to a file. Caption here. Despite CHCP reporting the active code as 437, sys standard out encoding is UTF-8, so the horizontal ellipses and infinity both output correctly. The circled number 42 is replaced by a rectangle, but no error is raised. Okay. This is just showing an example of a script that wouldn't work. The first problem demonstrated by figure 4 before. Okay. We'll skip to here. This is just an example of the output here, basically. To wrap up the maddening issues of default encodings, let's give a final look at the different encodings in example 4.1. If you admit the encoding arguments when opening a file, the default is given by locale.getPreferredEncoding. CP 1252 in example 4.11. The encoding of sys standard out, standard in, and standard error used to be set by the Python IO encoding environment variable before Python 3.6 is now that variable is ignored unless Python legacy Windows Studio standard IO is set to a non-empty string. Otherwise, the encoding for standard I/O is UTF-8 for interactive I/O. Or, defined by encoding for standard I/O is UTF-8 for interactive I/O. Or defined by, take a shot every time it says I/O, local get preferred encoding. If the output/input is redirected to/from a file, sys.get default encoding is used internally by Python in implicit conversations of binary data to and from stir. Changing this setting is not supported. Sys.get file system encoding is used to encode/decode file names, not file contents. It is used when open gets a stir argument from the file name. If the file name is given as a bytes argument, it's passed unchanged as the OS API. To summarize, the most important encoding setting is that returned by locale.getPreferredEncoding. It is the default for opening text files and for sys.standard output, standard in, and standard error when they are redirected to files. However, the documentation reads in part, locale.getPreferredEncoding do set locale equal true. Return the encoding used for text data according to user preferences. User preferences are expressed differently on different systems and might not be available programmatically on some systems, so this function only returns a guess. Therefore, the best advice about encoding defaults is do not rely on them. You will avoid a lot of pain if you follow the advice of the Unicode sandwich, are always explicit about the encodings in your programs. Unfortunately, Unicode is painful even if you get your bytes correctly converted to a stir. The next two sections cover subjects that are simple to ASCII land but get quite complex on Planet Unicode. Text normalization, converting text to uniform representation, comparisons, and sorting. That was a dense section. That was a dense section. Yeah, we had one last week. Well, not last week. Last week. A week ago. About a week ago. a week ago today, actually, that I failed. Bro, flashbacks. What's the favorite project? Probably my Spectro Sim. So just to preface you that it is hosted with render.com, so you can access it and run simulations yourself for AbsorbSim, but just know that the first run has to wake up the server and spin it up, so it might take like 45 seconds, like a minute literally to respond. So just know that, and then I need to add like um, a link to like some possible outputs, like some potential like a downloadable a link a hyperlink to download like a text file for some data that you can use like to give people some names because you can search anything here in PubChem, so it's hard to like think of stuff because it's linked up with PubChem. Okay, we read 10 pages. I think I'm going to be done with the reading for today. That was a pretty dense section. Okay. Let's turn up the tunes here. Hey, about Stalker, I'm kind of understand, but I'm still a bit lost on what exactly it is we want. I kind of explained it pretty well in the Discord. Maybe take a peek at some of my descriptions back then. It's pretty, I don't know, I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory, but maybe I'm just not doing a very good job of explaining it. Ooh, here we go. Stuff's going off. Stuff be going off. Fireworks are starting here, boys. Fireworks be starting. Hold on one second here, guys. Okay. Let's get cooking here on our project. So, Wackathon Stalker. Okay, I think it's going to make a lot more sense, you guys, when I start to build a front end. So people seem to be pretty confused on like what I'm actually doing here by building these kind of objects that are linking together. Now, trust me, guys, it's going to come very obvious here when I start building the front end. I think that's what I'm going to do today. Honestly, I think I'm going to. I gotta remember some of my decanter here today. Okay. So this is the back end. Okay. So the thing is that I'm gonna do this into Kinter. I don't think I really need a back end. So I might. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do.
Punch says, oh, you decided to use Kinter? Punch says, Nisli.
Okay. So let me say the pip status. No.
Wanna did what Tinder says. What's up? Tim says, can you explain again what we want StockHub to accomplish for the user?
Okay, so we want to do. I why finance isn't installed here. So, but I need to go source bin, no, source v and v bin activate. Maybe it's source v and v. There we go. Pip freeze. Yeah. Pip install Y finance. I'm in my virtual environment. Pip install right. Is it pip dash dash version? Yeah.
Says, I'm actually doing a cert in IT and my second course is fundamentals in programming.
Nice, dude. So why am I not getting on Stalker? My finance isn't there good. Why is Y finance not importing here?
Hello, MR teacher, can you see my message?
Yeah, how's it going? Come on. Welcome in, my guy. Hey, Punchy. Yeah, we've used Tkinter before in our small business manager project, so we're pretty familiar. I seem to remember a little bit about how to get started, but I'm trying to switch up my project structure here. Does my virtual environment need to be within my app? No, I don't think so. Oh, I need to go to my interpreter. Here we go. There we go. Now we've got our interpreter selected. All right. Hey, what's up for Thunder? How's it going? All right. So, all right, you guys. There's my. I just had to select my interpreter I was using. Okay, so let me explain this again to you guys here. All right, so the goal of this project is that you have an overarching portfolio, right? Thank you for the follow. I'll do it on my whiteboard here so you guys can see. Right? So here in pink, you have an overarching portfolio. Right? Okay. This portfolio is an object that I have here created. I wish I could scroll. I can't scroll for some reason in this thing. I can only scroll down. I can't scroll left or right. Okay, so you have a portfolio, right? And then a portfolio has the possibility to have various accounts, right? So you can have various accounts, and these accounts can have things in there like cash associated with the account, right? It has an attribute of cash associated with the account. And then, right? And then this links up to the overarching cash associated, right? Okay.
Formadidlathinder says, I had to switch over because the chat delay on YT was killing me.
No worries, dude. Yeah, YouTube's can be tough like that. All right. And then within the accounts, you can have positions, right? Like, in parentheses, you can have 1 share of Apple, right? Whatever. You can have positions. Okay. So all in all, your portfolio can give you an overarching view of your entire net worth in the market. Now, it's difficult to do that. There are some tools out there that can, and they use Stripe to maybe link to things together, but I want it to be a little bit more manual.
Stock market stuff.
Yes, what's going on? So we have a portfolio that has an associated cash value inside of it. It also has a variable of, there's another variable of stock asset value, right? And these accounts also have stock asset value. Stock asset value, right? And so in total, these individual accounts have stock asset value in cash, and all those are doing are just propagating.
How long have you been learning Python for?
1 year. These stock asset values propagate up to the portfolio stock asset value. So you can see, and this stock asset value is generated from these positions, right? So this is basically the overarching flow structure of the project. So you have an overarching portfolio, you have various accounts within them, and so think of it like this. I'll give you a real world example. I myself have a Roth IRA, a individual retirement account in the form of a Roth, right? A Roth was a senator or I think it was a senator that came up with this idea to help out Americans save for their retirement by allowing for you to make taxed contributions into an IRA, thus having non-taxed withdrawals after a certain age, having tax-free gains. So it's a huge benefit. Now there are some limitations, like you can only put in certain dollar amounts for single versus married filers and whatnot. But it's one of the best, best accounts that you can have as a young person to invest in at this point in time, because let's say I have $5 to put into my Roth IRA, I pay the tax up front on that $5. So I pay the 25 cents of tax on the $5 up front, put it into the Roth. So I only put in $4.75, because at the end of the tax year, I have to pay 25 cents back to Uncle Sam, even though I put $5 in the account. So really, there's only $4.75 of actual my money in there, even though, from my pocket. But when that $5 in 30 years grows to, let's say, $50, I can withdraw that $50 tax-free rather than paying the tax on the gain of, let's say, 20 or so percent, rather than, which would have been a lot more than that 25 cents that I paid up front, right? So that's kind of the benefit of the Roth IRA. So that's just the tangent. So my project here is you can basically stack your accounts within this portfolio and display an overarching net view altogether. So I personally have a Roth IRA with Fidelity. So I have an account called a Roth IRA with Fidelity. Now let's go ahead. I can actually do this for you. So Roth IRA with Fidelity here. I have a portfolio called Deming Investments, right? I have a Roth IRA with Fidelity, and I also have an individual taxable account, right? Just a day trading account that I trade, quite frequently in. That is all the money that is made in there is taxed, right? So, and all the money that I put in there is post-tax. So it's a taxable account, and it's with Robinhood, right? And then these are added using this function or this method into the portfolio, creating this bondage linkage between the account's cash value and stock asset value with the portfolio, right? It's a proportional or one-to-one relationship, and then it's accumulative on the portfolio end for all the accounts within. So I created this position here. I have 1 share of Apple with an average cost of $0. So let's say I got a share of Apple completely for free. Woohoo, greatest thing ever. So it cost me nothing, and I got a $200 stock. So a free $200 stock of Apple, right? And this is position 1. And I add this position to account number 1. So account number 1, my taxable account, has 1 share of Apple at an average cost of 0. Now this would never happen. You never get a free share of Apple, but this just for this testing scenario. Now I create another position. Let's say I have another share of Apple at a 0 average cost, but I have this within my Roth IRA, right? So technically I should have about 400, I think Apple's at 412 right now, 413. So I should have about $424, $25 of actual stock asset value within the entire portfolio. A 1 share of Apple in account 1, 1 share of Apple in account 2. So if I go ahead and run this, I get it. Hold on. I wrote this yesterday. We do have a bug here. So I need to go to my transaction here. Let's go to account, and then I'm going to just comment this out for right now. So I'm working on that right now. Where is that at? I'm not creating a...
A kid says, are you learning Python for using it in biochemistry related projects?
Yeah. You should go check out some of my sites, chromoplot.com and SpectraSim. You can go to michaeldeming.com and see a total view of all my projects so far. So this is giving me an error on line 15 of parent account. So Roth IRA was added. So when we create this position, and I add the position, so I go to account, add position. Where's this hitting?
Tim says kudos on the comments.
Yeah, I went through and got some comments here. I'm trying to keep organized here. So where is this hitting? We're creating the position, self-name. I thought it was hitting this in the transaction, which is doing this. Uh-oh. Oh no. Fireworks are starting, you guys. Position. Self-ticker.
Are you managing multiple accounts?
In what ways? In what ways? Sorry, Punchy. Where is this? Self.name. Is this in the position? No way. Oh, it is here. Okay, that's why. So our position has no actual parent account that was created.
Diglithinder says, what does self mean?
Hold on one sec. Let me fix this bug and I'll answer your questions. It wasn't this. It was
Which says if a user has multiple accounts connected to their portfolio, are you using a linked list or something to store the indefinite ANT of account?
instance variables and methods, basically, and linking them up with not inheritance, but I guess parameterization, if that's the right word. I haven't gotten my database figured out yet, and what I'm going to do for that portion. That'll probably be the last thing I do.
Says why programming now when there is a lot of scope in biochemistry.
A lot of scope in biochemistry. Where? Tell me where. Biochemistry is like, right now, dude, is like the worst field to, honestly, to go into, in my opinion. I see poor new grads graduating biochemistry and it's just like, oof, feels bad. So hold on. So I have my position. So I just need to go to my main and I need to add the position. I need to give a parent account equal to no, I don't want to give a parent account. I'm going to do this. I don't want to link a parent account here. I want to link a parent account here when I add it. So what I'll do is I have parent account here. I'll say if self dot underscore parent account else now, but what this is going to do.
1401 says, what are you creating?
Okay, so what I'm going to do is actually what I'll go like, I'm going to copy this F string and I'm going to go to my account here. And then when I add the position and I link it, I'm going to call the position dot name is equal to here, now that I've set it, right? So now that I set it, I'll run this, sync the position to decount and set the position
Explosive 1401 says, okay, nice.
Okay, I think that'll take care of it. So now let's see here. Oh, if parent self account has no attribute. Oh, because it doesn't come. It became ha ha ha. Okay, because we can't call if that because it's below here. Right. So we'll set this out front at the start first, and do that. So now if we run,
Diglithinder says you're tried reopening the terminal, right?
that's got nothing to do with it. None type object has no attribute name. Okay, so position obviously has no attribute name. here. No time object. Because it's not accessing. Okay.
Says no work tomorrow, so
Here.
we're doing a 24H stream, right, boys?
I think that'll take care of it.
Explosive 1401 says, so how far he is in learning Python?
I've been teaching myself for 1 year. Yeah, that's not an extra ticker. What? Oh.
Formadidlafender says 1 year.
Position. So the position.name equals to. So I'll go to my account. Position.name equals to.
Formadidlafender says, and you already know this much stuff.
Position.ticker. So this would be position.ticker. Self.name. Title. I actually don't need this because I'm in the account itself because I have name, I have access to it, and then this is me self.institution.title. Yep, it links, and then we don't need this. Okay, so then actually what I'll do, so then I can say let me go to my position here, and then actually I'll just make this name I'm going to say here unlinked position.
I started myself this year, starting in web dev, mainly JavaScript, but in making the course of Angela Yu, 100 Days of Python.
Nice, dude. Ah, come on. Okay, yeah, so we have to add the position, and we'll link the parent. Oh no, this is transaction. Here, we have to give a parent object here for the transaction of self.
Story, but not working professionally, just a uni course.
There we go. Okay.
Formadidlafender says, on to my second course, which involves programming.
Okay, so what we've done here, well, we fixed our bugs, fixed our boogs. All right, you guys, so so let me actually remove this cache ad here. Let me redo this. Okay, so I'll show you guys what's happening. It's really cool. It's pretty easy. All right, so in this line here, right, I'm gonna write some comments for y'all so you can keep up. This code is on my GitHub. I'm pushing this stuff live on my GitHub, so if you want, you can get access to it. Okay, so we're going to create a portfolio object, right? You're going to create a portfolio object. You're going to create account objects, right?
Tim says hello, Mr. Butler too.
And then let's add accounts to portfolio. My dog is scared of the fireworks. It's okay. It's okay. You go through this every year. We go through this every year, huh? We go through this every year. Why? Not again. Not again. All right, so we add. So, okay, what's going on here, guys? Just like I in my diagram here, we create the portfolio, right? We create the portfolio. The portfolio has an instance variable of cash and stock asset value and unrealized gain. Unrealized gain, yeah, yes, right? Okay. Okay, and so what's happening here is we have this portfolio, and then we have accounts. We're creating these account objects. We're creating these accounts, and then we're going to add the accounts to the portfolio. This links the accounts, their cash values, to whenever you kind of mess with the account's cash values, increase or decrease cash in the account, it also proportionally increases and decreases cash in your portfolio. It's a reflection of the summation of all the cash and stock market value of all of your accounts, right? And so then we can create positions here. Create positions. Right, you can create the individual positions. And then you can add to the accounts, right? And what's going on here? So just to show you guys, Apple is currently trading at $2.13, $213.55 at the end of today's close. So if I have an average cost of $0 and I have one share of Apple, that means I have an unrealized gain of $255 or $13.55. I paid no money for this contract, for this share, and it has a value of $213.55. So I have an unrealized gain for this account that houses this position of, if this is its only position, of $213.55. Now I don't have any cash in the position, so so the total value of the account is $213.55. So what I'm doing here is I'm printing out of my account one that has one share of Apple, right, with zero average cost, meaning I have a net gain or an unrealized gain of the entire share price of Apple for this theoretical simulation, right? If I print out the total value of the account, right, which is the stock asset value plus the cash, right, I get $213.55, and that's because the stock asset value of this account is $213.55, one share of Apple at zero average cost, and we have no cash in the account right now, right? Zero here. So 0 plus $213.55 gives a total value of $213.55. So I can show you guys here, if I directly change this and say, okay, this is actually $213, saying we just bought this stock and we only have a 55-cent net, or we only have a 55-cent unrealized gain right now. If I run this instead now, you'll see I'm not printing out unrealized gain actually, right? So let me print out test account one dot unrealized gain, right? So now if I run this, our total account value is still, right, one share of Apple. We still have one share of Apple worth $215. Yes, we paid $213 flat for it, and it's worth 55 cents more. So, our total account value is that $215, just one share of Apple. That's all we have in there, right? We have total stock asset value reflecting of that value. We have zero cash, right? And then our unrealized gain is this float here, which is that difference between what we actually paid, $213, versus what the actual price is of Apple per share times our average cost, right? So if I had instead 2 shares of Apple here rather than 1, this would now double from 55 cents to $1 and what, 10 cents? Yep, $1.10 right there. Perfect. See? and our share count also went up by another share. So rather than 213.55, it doubled at 427.1. So this is working perfectly. Woo! Does that make sense, you guys? So you can, if it's honestly difficult if you've never gotten experience investing in the stock market yourself, opening up multiple accounts, reporting on your taxes, multiple accounts, wash sales, realized versus unrealized gains, strategic selling to offset tax gains, all that kind of jazz. So it can be difficult to follow along if you've never actually done this type of trading and investing yourself. But once you do it, it's fairly easy to get started, and I highly advise you guys to invest in the market at the start, just in the S&P until you're comfortable actually making plays yourself and have confidence and an edge to your game. But at least into the Roth IRA, into the S&P, really help you out your future self. $1 here and there, a couple bucks here and there, it really helps add up. All right, let me get caught up on the chat, you guys. My bad. How long have you been learning Python for? 1 year, my friend. A little bit over 1 year. I started doing daily sessions about 8 months ago. I started with Harvard CS50P, and I read Python Crash Course live on the channel. Python Crash Course right here. You can find a PDF copy of all the books I read: Fluent Python, Python Crash Course, Python Machine Learning. All the books that I'm reading live on the channel you can find in my Discord link down below, completely for free. And it's a great opportunity to follow kind of like a roadmap of what I've done so far. So consider joining that. You can also ask me questions, hang out there, look at the project showcase, see other people's projects, participate in the Wackathon, the community project. I have weekly breakdowns of the Harvard CS50X course that I took this year and completed at the beginning of 2025, where I learned all about C, web dev, and more, and got some experience building full stack apps, which helped me build my SpectroSim and Chromoplot apps. My final project for Harvard CS50X was our small business manager, which was a double entry accounting desktop application using Tkinter and Python to basically automate my colleagues' entire business suite for their small business, Birdie Rose Close, which is pretty cool. So yeah, that's kind of a little feel about me so far. Let me keep reading some chats here. My bad. What exactly does the Dunder method do? So the Dunder method just lets you be able to customize classes in a way that Python currently does with its own built-in classes, right? So Python is an object-oriented language, or its constituents or whatever it has is built upon objects. So like when you do mathematical operations on integers, an integer itself is a class object, and so Python knows it's programmed to sum two integers together via the plus sign, right? But if, let's say, you have a position and I want to add two positions of apple together, and that would just be by combining the share counts and then averaging out we're doing a weighted average across the current average cost, right? That would be how you would do it and return a new position object. Python doesn't know how to do that itself, right? So because the position object I customly created. So I would have to use the special methods like I add, like add in place, or dunder add for just add, to represent and program these types of actions that you can do with these classes, such as adding two positions together, dividing two positions, doing modulo operations, indexing into, iterating over positions. Like it doesn't know exactly if your position is iterable. You have to make it iterable by using these special methods to kind of create these functions. And then at the bottom, if dunder name equals quote main run main. So yeah, this little line here can be pretty confusing too. I honestly don't know like a lot about the ins and outs of it. All I do know is that it's used for like file imports and for kind of organizing and keeping the scope of your file here when you go to import it and use your main program. The name doesn't get kind of like confused with other parts of the import, I'm guessing. So what happens is it takes this special dunder name kind of variable and assigns it as the name of your file, I believe, and then runs that file if that name is called basically within that import. Something along those lines. That's not the best explanation, but it's a pretty kind of cryptic thing. Yeah, it just is pretty standard across like the scripts. So after Python, what domain are you thinking of exploring? Are you learning Python for just using biochemistry related projects? I'm really not. I've we've built some full stack stuff using Tailwind, React, CSS, HTML. We've gotten some practice with JavaScript and C, but I really don't care to continue on with other languages. I only Python. Honestly, I think Python is just going to continue growing in terms of popularity with machine learning and AI especially. So I think there's a lot of benefits to just continuing on and developing an actual mastery in Python rather than like a typical CS majors kind of like dusting knowledge across a bunch of languages. My kind of analogy I use or metaphor is that I'm not trying to collect languages like Pokemon badges or like Pokemon. I'm just trying to, it's my starter Pokemon and I'm trying to level it up to 100 and then go beat the Elite Four with one Pokemon. And then if I need to go learn some other stuff, I will, but I really want to get a mastery, and then translate that into other avenues first. So it probably learning Python for probably like a minimum of like 2 years, I'd say, before I really branch out to other things consistently. What does self mean? Yeah, so self mean when you're dealing with objects in Python. So this self is just a kind of like a keyword to basically represent this actual account that you're working on, and I'm creating. So in this, I'm using this account multiple times, but these are distinguished by these individual different parameters or attributes that are being, associated, right? This account's name is individual taxable and its institution is Robinhood, whereas this account's name is Roth IRA and its institution is Fidelity. But so these accounts are usually the same kind of constructor method, but they have different values for those constructions, and so they're distinguished differently in memory, right? And so the self basically refers to this account itself or this account itself, right? And so just try, it kind of might be hard to wrap your mind around self, but when you're using and writing functions to manipulate the data within here, it really starts to make sense, right? So if I'm going to access this name, I have to access the name of the class itself and then override it. So self dot name. Like I can't just say name because there is no scope of name within this function right here, right? There is no, I didn't pass in name. There is no name being created here or like written and assigned in terms of a variable. I have to access the actual class itself through this variable. So by passing in self, I can get access to all of the things that were included within the construction. And then you can also use things like class methods, like with a decorator of class method to manipulate overarching data for the entire class that are outside of the constructor. So like if I had like a list of like accounts here where that I had like some sort of, in the initialization, it automatically added the account to some sort of set static accounts list like out front here, right? I could have a class method to access this accounts, right, kind of like globally, and then add it in there, essentially. Hopefully that helped make sense. If a user has multiple accounts in their profile, I missed that one. I'm starting web dev, mainly JavaScript, but making the course Angelou 100 Days of Python. Nice, Explosive. How's that course been going for you? Similar story to not working professionally with just a uni course. Similar story, but not working. Nice. On my second course, which involves programming primarily in Python. I'm thankful for that because it's easy syntax. Hey Ray, how's it going, dude? Complete my assignments. Yeah, I'm just wondering as you, or Ridwan says, I'm just wondering as you progress to your coding capabilities now, what is the best method that you utilize to learn code efficiently? Dude, honestly, swear on my life, it's just showing up every single day. That's honestly the answer that no one wants to hear because it's the least fast way of going about it, right? There is just no cheat code. Unfortunately, there's just not enough time in the day or energy that you have to actually download into your brain all of this information. It's just so dense, so deep, that it just takes time. It really just takes time to just let this marinate. Think of your mind as like a steak, like a really nice steak, and you're trying to like marinate it with all of these juices, all of this, seasoning, all of this stuff, and you're just, the longer you let it season and marinate, the more you'll understand. So when I first learned about objects and classes, I was really confused, and so I let that idea kind of marinate in my mind for about a week before I moved on to the next chapter in my book, or lesson, or week in my lesson lecture, because I really wanted to understand rather than moving on too quickly. And so I let those concepts marinate until I felt comfortable actually moving on. So don't move on too fast, and let things cook in your mind before, if you're not getting them. So, and let them, yeah, whatever. um, that too, Silver Do. Pick a project, jump to it, even if it feels out of your depth. Yeah, I didn't know how to build my Tkinter app or my React apps. I learned on the fly, right? So that also helped. I'm actually doing that right now, and I use Cursor whenever it implements code. I ask it, and then I break it apart and try to remake it myself. I feel like retaining my experiences can be an issue in terms of remembering how to fully learn how to code. I get lost in many online courses. So just off of what you said right there, I would try your best to have your cursor. There's no issue in using cursor to learn. I think that using AI is one of the best, is going to be the most innovative and life-changing tools from an educational standpoint to actually learn new things if used appropriately and responsibly. So I always preface the AI. You'll see me, say to explicitly not show me code, to use words. And so that forces me to have to be creative and actually type myself. And yeah, it might not work. Yeah, it might take me 2 hours to write a simple function, but the value I gained in learning in that 2 hours was a lot more than just, chunking out a feature that I had no idea actually what was under the hood. The whole point of these projects, I think people miss the point of the project. The project is really, you're not Mark Zuckerberg, dude. You're not, like, I'm not Mark Zuckerberg. You're not Mark Zuckerberg. In all honesty, like, I'm sorry, but like, we're not gonna build the next, Airbnb. We're not gonna build Uber or Lyft here. Like we're just not that guy. So we're just building these projects, leveling up in difficulty little by little, just to gain experience. That's the real investment here. It's not a monetary investment to build Facebook and gain users and whatnot. There's no point in thinking like that, because honestly, that's not going to happen. Like, no one else is going to use this really after I finish this project. It's just for me. I'll probably use it, but it's just for me to learn, right? That's really the only value that's being brought out of this. So you have to stick to that. And if that's not enough for you, then, honestly, I don't know if it's really, like, I don't want to say like if it's for you, because I don't know, like if you really at this point are struggling to like actually just have fun writing projects, like after you learn some stuff, I don't know, like, yeah, it's hard to come up with some ideas at sometimes, but if you're not having fun with it at this point in time, like this early on, this is supposed to be where it is fun. So if you're not having fun throughout the learning, like either A, you need to change your mindset and how you're viewing it, or B, maybe it's time to like play guitar or something. If you're not having fun, why are you doing it, honestly? So Ridwan, like, I'll just, you don't have to see code to try to learn something you've never coded before, right? Like, you can try to write things little by little and feed that in, and then have it verbally, coach you to the next step. So far, my first assignment, I have used AI after implementing features, and I hate that. How can I resist the urge?
Forma says, it's like I resort to GitHub Copilot because I feel like I'm not smart enough to come up with the solution.
I mean, that's a natural approach. I mean, I don't beat yourself up too bad, dude. Like, in all honesty, like, why, it's very human to seek out tools that would give you an easier or quicker solution, right? That's just human nature, right? If like, I think things like writing and like essays and stuff probably are going to become like almost obsolete, and writing industry might heavily be impacted. Now there's obviously, I think, creative writing and artistic writing will be heavily present, but like in terms of like maybe like journalism and like newspapers and writing in terms of that, articles, it might really become obsolete to artificial intelligence. So there's no pressure in like, using. Don't feel bad or beat yourself up on using tools that would, as a human enable you to be better, but just try to learn from those experiences, and don't have it become a crutch. Well, that might be your problem right there, is like, why are you copying what the AI is? Like, you as a human have the ability to not copy,
At least I understand the code.
right? Even if you understand the code it's giving you, if you're copying it, not actually physically writing it, that's honestly like looking at someone else's Spark Notes and expecting to understand them, to have read the book, right? That's kind of like my analogy. Like, that's like, dude, that's really it. Like, if AI gave you the code and you copy and pasted the code and actually didn't physically type it yourself, I kind of view that as like you just read in the Spark Note before you took the chapter quiz in your AP language class, right? Like, you didn't actually read the chapter. There's a lot of actually good in-depth learning that you missed, tropes, metaphors, motifs, like literal elements, literary elements that you may have missed, themes, emotions that you may have missed, right? All those different types of things that come from reading itself, you missed out on.
Dude, HW is going on.
Hey, how's it going, Badu? Yeah, right. Think about like note taking. Why do they say to like physically write your own notes? Like, if AI is writing your notes for you, right? I do use AI for my notes, and sometimes I'll copy some more dense things in to have like some solid like points and some good definitions. But a lot of the times I will copy like and type, even if I'm copying what it's saying, like I'll still be typing it like myself. Like, I'm not gonna highlight it and copy it in like a lot of the time. That's not. Anyways, I'm getting distracted here. Lots of chats, you guys. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Okay. So everything should be working appropriately here. Nice.
Says, most of my learning of concepts involved watching videos, taking notes and applying what I've learned.
Yeah, I don't really watch too many videos. I honestly find that they don't provide all the information I'm needing. The books honestly provide all like the little edge cases that you need to know and stuff. That's why I like the books.
Formadidlefender says, I actually find it fun writing my own programming guidebook.
Okay, perfect. So 2 shares of Apple at 0 average cost. So then if I print also test portfolio dot unrealized gain, this should be 427. Perfect. And then if I make this average cost of 213.55 and I make this, this, now my unrealized gain should be 0. We're at break even. Perfect. Yes, this is working really nice. Woo! Yeah, dude, join my Discord. I have a Discord link down below where it has a roadmap of all my learning. I took Harvard CS50P for free. I did not pay for the course. For free, did the free version and paired it with the Python Crash Course book. I've uploaded on my channel. I have videos. I have about 20 so far of the Python Crash Course Try It Yourself in-text practice problem walkthroughs. I just uploaded one today. I recorded three more today that I'll upload, and then I'm gonna record 3 more tomorrow. So I have 6 that I'm gonna have stacked up ready to upload. So I don't have a command. Sorry, dude. It's in my profile on Twitch. I don't have any bots yet. I'm not that big of a streamer. I ain't that streamer guy. I mean, ain't no Kai Cenat over here. Just a programmer guy. It's okay. It's okay. You don't have to get scared of it. Let me grab a drink, you guys. Let me grab some soda pop. I'll be right back. Let me grab some soda. Soda.
Badu says we're in Discord. I joined it. Thunder says, does chat get a bit edgy sometimes?
Yeah, I've had to ban a few people for getting a little bit too comfortable in chat. All right. Let's go get ad here.
Thunder says, damn.
Let's push that up. Perfect. Okay, so the code is live on GitHub right now if you guys want to see it too. Let me rename this to objects. No, this cost is fine actually, whatever. Okay, so then this is our main. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I think I gotta get cooking with Zakinter here. Okay, let's see here. I'm going to look up custom Zakinter documentation, or is it tutorial? Create a widget from a frame. Required inbox from the frame. Okay. Documentation. Okay. Let's exit out here. Why does it have? Okay, let's go source bin
Badu says where in Discord I joined it.
what the channels, Python crash course, the sections. It's pretty obvious. Just look through there, man. If I run this, still, do we get any? Yeah. Okay. So I'll go pip install. And then we want to upgrade. So pip install custom Zakinter. Upgrade. There we go. Okay. Beams. Scaling, packaging, widgets. Okay. This still runs. Okay, then we have main. So let's go pip freeze. Okay. Okay. So we're going to import from custom TK. Oh. Custom to Kinter. Widgets. Custom to Kinter.
Formidibla Thunder says, I really like VSC.
Imports. Import to Kinter CTK.
Formidibla Thunder says, are you an extensions guy or do you prefer keeping your stuff original?
I just use what I need to, I guess. How would this work? I'm gonna say import custom Kinter.
Formidibla Thunder says, what extensions do you currently have?
These guys so far. These are my extensions here. You can pause it. So why would this work? It's not in here. I'm in my virtual environment though.
Formidibla Thunder says, the only problem I have with Python is on indentation. Formidigla Thunder says, but I've heard the indentation rainbow extension is great for that.
Why won't this read? Okay, so why is my interpreter... Now it's there. Okay, so it just wasn't installed in the right place. I thought I'd be using it if I activated. Okay, so let's go back here to documentation. So we just want to get started here. Okay. Okay. Like this, app equals to custom kinter.ctk. That. Get a window. Perfect. Okay. Nice. Okay, so we have our app here to Kinter. Now, if I remember this right, we can use this in like an object-oriented way. Okay. So now I'm to the point where I'm back to styling stuff. I need to think of how I'm going to style this. Okay.
Formidigla Thunder says, Luke is out of the scope of my understanding of the moment. My university course material covers that later on, so like assessment 2 might involve that.
Okay. Okay, so this is what we'll do. So this is kind of like the approach that you normally use. Right? You inherit from CTK. You set up an initialization, right, of self. And self dot title we'll put into something, right? String. And then we can just give a bunch of instance variables like geometry here.
Aaron says, well, keep it up, bro.
500 by 500. And then what we'll do is have that if dunder name, right, equals to quote dunder main.
So far, my first assessment involves a case study of a library who want to move from paper-based to digital administration and keeping track of memberships.
We're going to call app equals to our app class. And we're going to call app.main loop. And then inside of this app class, we can basically create any type of object here and define, we can define widgets here, and then we can add the widgets as self objects. Right. Cool. So if we run this, we should get now a window. It's a little bit bigger. Oh, I'm forgetting the super, right?
Python program in the terminal that has a main menu and 4 submenus.
I need to create a Python program in the terminal that has a menu and 4 submenus. You should take a look at my GitHub on my task tracker app. I wrote a function that actually is pretty good, cool for a custom menu function in. Let me see if I can find that for you actually.
As you can see, maybe simple stuff.
Hold on one sec. I think I got it for you. No, that's not it.
Formadidlefender says, but a good starting point for a beginner.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, look at this bad boy here. Look at this program I wrote. So I wrote this all, baby. This was my first iteration of the small business manager in the which is a full like program now, Python, a desktop app that I wrote in the terminal here. So there's a function here called settings menu. No, settings menu. There's a function here called, these are the setters.
Formadidlefender says,
Here.
wow, that's cool.
Here, take this function here. see if I can. The
Mitchieldeming says visual functions def create menu, prompt, str, options, creates displays a menu given a list or tuple of options of provided device instance, options, list, tuple, set, while true, print, f, prompt, n, for index, option enumerate, options, print, f, index +1, option title dot strip, try,
Yeah.
input, accept value error, clear terminal, print, Formadidlathunder says light mode xtd.
Hey Aaron, how's it going, dude? Yeah, so take this function, this kind of, you can give a prompt as a string, like pick one of the following options. And then you can give a list of options here. And so you give, and then what it'll do is it'll print it out, and then you can use it, and then basically, yeah, you can print it out. And then you can call a function to, and then what's going to happen is the user it's going to basically use the input function to gauge for user input regarding the displays, and then return back that integer value so you can know what to do with it, which will basically be correlate to the index of the option.
Formadidlathunder says, I guess the best approach for my task involving a main menu and 4 submenus, I should create a function for each.
All right. Cool. So we add that, we're good. Define widgets here, good. Okay, so now I need to start styling this. Okay, so let's get the pen and paper out. All right, let's see. How do I want to style this window? So obviously I'm thinking we want like a rectangle. So probably let's do like width of 700 by 500. Let's see, that's way too small. Let's do.
Formadidlathunder says, each function should also be in its own while loop id.
Okay. Let's go a bit wider, a little bit bigger. Definitely height of, let's say, 1,000. It's a little better. We'll go 800 here, 1,200 by 800. I like that. Be a little bit bigger. 1,400 by 1,000. A little bit less height.
Formadidlathunder says, what are you creating now?
The graphic interface for the program. Auto pop.
Formadidlathunder says, alright, cool. Formadidlathunder says, I like some GUI too.
What is that? Daft Punk. Oh crap. Don't want to get hit with copyright there. Okay, so let me see here. Can I go app dot, what am I?
Formadidlathunder says certified Daft Punk hater, TF.
I just can't get a copyright. So if I go, let me open up that other project.
Formadidla Thunder says, I assume off-stream you listen to copyrighted music. Formadidla Thunder says, if so, what kind of music is your go-to?
Self.title. Trying to use my other function I wrote here to remember how I did this into Kinter. So you can do an app.main. .main loop. We can do okay, hold on.
Formadidla Thunder says one of my favorite bands in that genre are The Weather Report or Herbie Hancock.
So if I run the program main, I run app. So in the initialization of class is super. And let me call here self.title stalker. Stalker dashboard. Right? And then if we say self.lift, that will bring it to the front. Raise this widget in the stacking order. Now if I run, no, okay, lift, and then self dot attributes, and I say quote topmost true. Now if I run this, it should pop up. There we go. Now it opens automatically. So I say lift. Do I really need that? No. So this is a window header title. Window auto. Geometry. Last time I had geometry of 1200 by 800. This time I'm having this. So let me go 1200, 800. Kind of want a little bit more length. 1000. No, that's height. There we go. Okay, I like that sizing. Stalker dashboard, that looks good. Okay, cool.
situation, or does it require critical thinking in certain problem situations?
Honestly, it was a lot of memorization in college. Understanding like the citric acid cycle, Krebs cycle, electron. No. Remembering
Go Ted Penguin 02 says
transport, electron transport chain. Yeah, that's right. Electron transport chain. Yeah. Yeah, dude, I remember being in college. I remember it to this day very, very vividly. Booking college, the study rooms. Yeah, redox reactions. Yeah.
work with you as thumbnail designer.
Hey, Sankit, how's it going? It's the thumbnail designer. I do all my thumbnails currently. Yeah, you can send me some mock-ups you have on Discord. Link down in the description if you want.
02 says and thermochum.
Yeah, thermodynamics. I kind of like thermodynamics. I thought it was pretty easy, like entropy, like
Says redox seemed fun. Sankut says classes topic is quite as in Python.
I like classes. That's all I write in Python is classes. That's all Python is classes. What do you mean?
Thunder says, I did a bit of that in HS.
We could make like a redox reaction solver or something eventually. It's one of my goals. Got a lot of project ideas I want to make. My next project I want to make is going to be a unrealized or a realized gain parser. Python needs to learn biochemistry. That'd be funny, right? Python Pro learns biochemistry live. That'd be kind of like the, dude. I think honestly, I think learning like biology is pretty tough. Like because it's the hard part about biology is you just have to trust that it's all there and that it all works, right? It's kind of like honestly like a faith, because unless you have a microscope, you can't really see. So you have to kind of just trust that that actually is how things are. And so it can be kind of hard to actually understand and visualize like the ins and outs and inner workings of like these types of, molecular motors or whatnot that are inside you doing transportation of ATP and working with other molecules via, gating, electrical gates, literally like electrical gating, like, logic gates of, certain compound molecules based on shape within your DNA or within your membranes, like your lipid bilayer membranes and stuff like that. So it's really quite interesting how closely related a computer is to a human and whatnot in terms of like biology. It's really quite fascinating. I think they would enjoy it, but it's a different type of thinking. It's not like problem solving. It's memorization and understanding and like really just grinding in the flow of point A to point whatever. Like that's all anatomy and physiology is memorization for the entire class. Nile Red's the goat, dude. He turned what was he? He turned into urine into grape soda? He's like really advanced. That's like a level of chemistry that's like I really don't know how that level of chemistry is like actually obtainable to where you can like actually understand the inner workings of the like molecular structure of pretty much everyday objects and know how they would react together to be able to transform matter into other matter. It's pretty crazy. He's basically like shape-shifting matter into other things. It's really quite crazy what he does and the knowledge he has. Yeah, we've already read the Python crash course. It's pretty it was pretty good. It was a great book. I really enjoyed it. Hey, Raticide, thanks for coming in, dude. Hey, Aaron, thanks for coming in, you guys. I appreciate you. If you guys are new here, consider subbing. My name's Michael. I got a degree in human biology and a minor in chemistry, and I've been working and teaching myself Python every single day after my 9-to-5 job as a formulation chemist, where I make biological controls for a biotech company. I've been teaching myself a little bit over a year now, doing everyday streams for about 8 months. So thank you guys so much for following along and join the Discord down below, linked in the description and in my profile, where you can get access to a roadmap of all my resources, participate in this community project, Stalker, which is my whackathon community project. Right now, I'm just plotting out right now how I'm going to style this Tkinter frame, right? Okay, so let's think about this. How am I going to style
Fluent says,
this?
download 3 books of Python. Python crash course exercise are too boring. Forma Thunder
No,
says,
they're not boring. I like them. They're really good at terms
Radicide
of they
says,
give you that
Outload says,
breakdown you really
start in
need
multiple
to
streams.
like not have to worry about like understanding what the problem is asking you, but you only have to worry about the syntax. They're boring to the point where that's why it's
Fluent says,
useful.
by the way, bro, what's your main aim like data scientist?
Like it's boring. It's good that it's boring in the sense that if you're a true beginner and have no like further background in programming and problem solving thinking and like that, if you're also having to understand the problem and the variables and whatnot, and then try to also understand the programming aspects, it gets way too cluttered and it gets very discouraging. So Python Crash Course, it's really nice, is it uses things that are boring like dog, cat, pizza, car, like these super elementary types of examples to represent and do these types of functions and whatnot. But by doing that is that you no longer have to worry about trying to piece together what the problem's asking you. You can just focus on what tools do I need to actually make these basic elementary things come true. So that's why I really liked it from a beginner point of view. Main aim like data scientist? I don't know. I don't really know. Just learning for fun, seeing what happens, what opportunities open up from the stream, from networking here. So just like hanging out with you guys and building cool stuff. Okay, so
Radicide says, are you
this is the worst part, right? This is where we have to start styling the window. So right now, you guys, we have everything. Well, my testing, I moved some stuff around, so these aren't properly linked. So actually, I need to figure this out. So main goes classes. See this no module classes. I think if we do dot dot, it'll do it.
Aharon says, your opinion on India.
My opinion on India. Oh, good on you guys. I don't know what kind of question is that.
Radicide says, good food. Radicide says, and some bad.
Hmm. How do you do this? I forgot. Do I just say, can I just actually do this? Because it's within. I might be able to just do this. No. So it's in app. So I have to go out.
Radicide says, I used to do Python but forgot most of it. Angst says you.
See, if I move classes inside and then I do this, it'll work. But then if I move classes outside, it doesn't work. But so if I put periods here, that doesn't work. If I put double periods, that also does not work. If I do a slash, that does not work. Okay, see, I always have problems with importing and knowing the right syntax. I'll just keep it inside for now.
Angst says, do app classes.
App. There, okay, I could just specify it, right? That's a good idea. App.classes. Thank you. I spend way too much time trying to figure out these imports a lot of the time. Well, not app.classes, it'd be wackathon stalker. It'd be like root.classes, right? But be like that.
Radicide says, dot dashes are allowed.
That would have to be inside. I say dot portfolio. Let me look up, let me say, if testing.py is ender
classes are outside the app folder. Just put them inside the app folder.
Yeah, I didn't want them inside the app folder, that's the thing, but I might have to. And that works. Okay, whatever. Okay.
Radicide says, will you try other languages?
Honestly, I can pretty much build everything I need to in Python, so there's really no reason to. Like, I'm not trying to build, iPhone apps or something. That's not really me. So Python is pretty much all I really need at the moment. Okay, so in the top left, I'm going to have the title, right? So Stalker, right? And then we want to have like statistics. So how do I want to style this? So let's have like, if we have Stalker up in the top left, right? How do I want to style this? This is the hardest part.
Ax says, can you try from classes import X?
Let's do, so I definitely want like a pie chart, I think, to represent the distribution of accounts, right? So I'll have like portfolio, and then you'll have your portfolio name, right? And then you'll have, I guess, like portfolio cash value, cash reserve, portfolio. Okay, so that means we have, that would all be within the 0. We'd have stats in the, so in the 0, we'd have stats in the 1 column. This is interesting. This is hard. This is, styling out the page is harder than actually building it. So I definitely want a column 0 for information, a column 1 in the middle, and a column 2 on the right. So a 3-column setup, 0 indexed, and column 2 on the right will be for like graphs.
I steal design ideas from Dribble.
And then and then we have a header column for a row, 0 row. We have a middle row for data, and then a bottom row for footer.
Hey there.
Okay, so a 6x6 page here. This is tough. I think we probably should just start getting some stuff on the board. I don't know. How should we style this? I'm pretty good at coming up with like styles, but I'm kind of blanking here. Okay, let's define a custom widget here. Let's go here. New directory called custom widgets. Right. Oh, I gotta go to the bathroom, you guys. I'll be right back. Give me 1 second. Actually, I think I'm going to call it here, you guys. Might take me a little bit longer than 5 minutes, so I'm going to call it here, you guys. I might come on a little bit later tonight if I can for an after-hours stream where I'll continue on building and just kind of chalking out this design, but I'll definitely be back tomorrow. I have tomorrow off of work. It's a holiday for us Americans, July 4th, so I have tomorrow off, so I'll be back on tomorrow early. I stream every single day around 7 p.m. PST, but tomorrow I'll be back on a little bit earlier, where we'll continue and get a real draft going of our dashboard here. Yes, hey, Raticide. So we'll get a real good draft of our dashboard, continue on here, and get some of my ideas on paper actually out here. So I just need to figure out how I want to actually display all the information for accounts, the overarching portfolio values, and whatnot. So thank you guys so much for being here and joining me for this evening. I'll be back tomorrow to continue on building this app, and we're a couple days away from having a working proof of concept, so I'll see you guys later. Thanks so much for being here. Please subscribe if you aren't, and join my Discord. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one, guys.